Welcome back to the Cord Cutters News Cord Cutting today, where we break down some of the biggest stories happening in the world of cord cutting, including Looney Tunes is finally getting a new streaming home after leaving HBO Max. It's a free one too, we'll tell you where. Pluto TV will be locking some content behind paywalls. We talked about this before, but we got some new details, some new information here. We'll break it down for you. And Warner Brothers Discovery is selling some of its cable networks internationally for $1. We'll tell you what's happening here and more, and why cable networks are just not worth anything anymore, it seems like. But first, if you want to read anything about these stories, check out the show notes down below and in the first pinned comment. I'll put a link to each story so you can read them for yourself and come up with your own opinions. I'd love to hear from you. If you're new here, please consider hitting that subscribe button and hitting that thumbs up. It lets YouTube know you enjoy what we do here, so YouTube recommends our videos to more people, helping us grow, hopefully helping you break free from the high cost of TV and still watch the shows you enjoy. All right, let's dive into it. Recently this year, Warner Brothers Discovery removed classic Looney Tunes from, at the time, Max, and I'll call it HBO Max, leaving them pretty hard to find out there. Now they've announced a deal with Fox's Tubi, and that in August it will be adding Looney Tunes classics from 1930s to the 1960s cartoon shorts on Tubi to stream for free. Unknown, we'll have to wait, get some details here. You know, are we looking at anything missing here? That kind of stuff. Sometimes that happens with it. But classic Looney Tunes will be moving to Tubi. Great news on this. The streaming service has already covered over 250 Looney Tunes shorts from the 1950s onwards. Shall complete with Coyote versus Acme to save money. So this was a part initially to cut costs of having them at HBO Max. Now having them on Tubi, I think they're hoping to generate revenue from it. But good news, classic cartoon fans will once again be able to stream them, this time for free. It'll be interesting. Are they going to do ads before and after these, or during these ones? We'll wait and see. All right, Pluto TV will be locking some content behind an account. Now, it's still free. Pluto TV is not charging you anything. You'll still be able to stream all your favorite movies and television shows on live channels on there. One note, in our original report, we said it also was locking some on-demand content. That was not correct. It's actually only live channels are being locked behind I almost said paywall, an account wall, I guess we'll call it. Now with this, Pluto TV is increasingly trying to push people to create accounts. There's a few reasons. For you, you get benefits of saving channels to your favorites, picking up where you left off, and more. For Pluto TV, they get the ability to better track what you watch, what you enjoy, and deliver more curated ads to you that are more profitable for them. The more targeted the ad, the more the advertiser is willing to pay, the more content you get from that. So we'll wait and see what happens here, but for now, seems to be a test. Not all customers are impacted. Not all channels are locked behind a paywall on this. Just certain channels here with this. And again, it seems to be a test with this, that you'll be able to get only a limited amount of content through it, and then other customers will have to, to continue to watch other content, you'll have to go and create an account. How they're deciding how to do this right now is unknown. This is not the first time they've done some A/B testing like this to try to push people to create accounts. I suspect we'll see more and more efforts here to get more people to create accounts because it generates Pluto TV more ad revenue. All right, next up, Warner Brothers Discovery is selling its New Zealand-owned cable networks to Sky TV for the staggering cost of $1. Now, this really seems to be an effort to get out from underneath the ownership of this. Now these cable networks here are been operated and owned by Warner Bros. Discovery, but now will also be run by Sky with this. We've seen this in many places. We also heard Warner Bros. Discovery was trying to unload networks in Poland and other areas with this. Cable networks are just not seen as that profitable anymore. Increasingly, they want you to subscribe to their streaming service like Max, Tubi, and others with it. Because of all that, you know, at some point they're deciding it's just worth to get rid of these. And in this case, Sky was willing to absorb these channels for $1, and Warner Bros. Discovery was excited to get out of it. Look for more and more content to shut down. Disney's been shutting down a lot of international channels. Paramount and others have also been doing it. I suspect we'll see a flood of these channels shut down in the years to come. It's just not profitable to be running them anymore with that. Keep a close eye on this one. Speaking of channels, in the United States, a district court has ruled that the FCC rule that limited channel owners from owning more than one of the big four. So if you, for example, lived in a specific market, you were technically only allowed to own one of the ABC, CBS, Fox, or NBC stations with this. And you couldn't own more. Now, there were certain loopholes in that allowed people to own more than one. Now, the FCC rule here has been struck down in court, which would free up the ability for TV stations to own your local ABC and CBS and more. Now, there is great concern here. What happens if your local market, all four stations are owned by one company? What happens if you, for example, that company says, you know what, all four stations are all going to play the same news, and you're basically eliminating competition in the world of news for local areas. In a day and age where newspapers are pretty much a thing of the past for many mid-sized and smaller cities, even larger cities, local focused newspapers are a thing of the past. News on the radio is increasingly declining. You used to have a lot of AM news radio stations out there with their own news teams. Those are becoming a thing of the past, often relying on partnerships with TV stations for that news. And while there are still some local news journalists that are independent, increasingly television news stations are some of the few local news organizations in many parts of the country. I personally am a little bit worried about this because it could remove competition in the world of news, dramatically reducing people's access to news except for maybe one or two sources if multiple TV stations are owned by the same people in the same market. We'll see what happens here, but the local TV station owners have been pushing for this for some time. They're very excited about this. We'll wait and see how it plays out. All right. Hey, speaking of free streaming services, in 2024, free streaming services like Tubi, Pluto TV, and the Roku channel, to name a few, had great revenue, $4.9 billion in 2024 of revenue with that, and they expect that to grow to $9 billion in 2029, according to a report from PwC. Increasingly, free ad-supported streaming services like Pluto TV, Tubi, the Roku channel, and more are the fastest growing parts in the world of cord cutting, and increasingly people are seeing that as a legitimate replacement for some paid services. Really good content, huge line of channels there. Leave me a comment, let me know, have you increasingly been using free ad-supported streaming services? If you are, you're one of a growing number of cord cutters looking to save money by using ad-supported services like them. All right, next up, Comcast is going back to sports. Comcast has been increasingly leaning into sports to help save its cable networks and streaming services. Peacock's been increasingly growing its lineup of sports content, and its cable networks increasingly getting more and more sports rights. Now, according to a report from the Wall Street Journal, Comcast is exploring the idea of relaunching a sports network. Comcast NBC Sports Network shut down, I believe it was in 2021. Somebody correct me. When did Comcast shut down their sports network? They moved that NBC Sports Network content mostly over to USA. Now USA Network's being spun off into an independent company, and maybe Comcast is looking at launching their own one to take over the sports content that used to be on those networks. That would be devastating for USA if it lost all of its sports over to this new network. But Comcast, by the end of this year, will be spinning off most of its cable networks into an independent company like MSNBC, CNBC, USA Network, Sci-Fi, and more will all become independent. Bravo, Peacock will stay with them, but we'll see. Sorry, my son just barged in here. A quick cut back here. So increasingly, Comcast is looking at sports as a way to save TV and its cable networks. We'll see. Will this new cable network be still owned by Comcast after the spinoff? I would suspect so. We'll wait and see how it plays out with that. All right, and lastly, T-Mobile is 5G home internet saw explosive growth in the second quarter of 2025, adding over 454,000 customers. This comes after AT&T announced they added over 200,000 5G home internet customers. Increasingly, cord cutting 2.0 is growing rapidly as a large number of Americans are ditching traditional internet service from cable companies wanting to be 100% done with their cable companies and switching over to cheaper options like 5G home internet or other options like fiber with it. We'll have to keep a close eye on this, but this is horrible news for Comcast and Spectrum. They'll be reporting their numbers next week. If this is any indication, we may have absolutely devastatingly bad reports from Comcast or Spectrum. Maybe they'll defy my expectations, but when you see 600,000 people signing up for 5G home internet in just 3 months, those customers came from somewhere. And AT&T reported its fiber customers added about 200,000 customers also, leaving me to suspect that a lot of these customers came from cable TV companies, not just Comcast and Spectrum, but others. As increasingly with cord cutting 2.0, people canceled cable television and now they're canceling cable internet. We'll see how it plays out with that. Well, that's it for today. I hope you have a fantastic day. Until next time, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up. I'll talk to you all again real soon.